Well, hello. Charlie is here. He's just grabbing water. He likes to do this at the beginning of every episode. Anyway, welcome back to episode 13 of the AI Code Central podcast. In this episode, we have a great guest. His name is MP. He is part of the growth and marketing team at Lovable. I honestly feel like we could have had another hour with him, legitimately,
Very
because
easy to
I
talk
think
to.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I think
great.
his role at Lovable is so interesting because it's not like a very set, like he's involved in a lot and with a lot of people, and he's big in the influencer and collab space, but we never really dove as deep into there as we could have done. And that's not anything to do with him. He's a great guest. He's very generous with his time and with the things he discusses and his ideas. I just feel like when you've got someone as interesting, as fascinating as he is, you could have a 3 hour conversation and still not cover it. Really nice guy. I genuinely hope that we do have an opportunity to have him back on again because, like I said, I think he just has so much insight to offer. So you can find him on LinkedIn. We'll obviously add a link to his LinkedIn in our show notes. Great guest. Really enjoyed him. And like I said, super generous with his time. And so that's who we had today. So that was episode 13. Also, in most parts of the world, it's basically fall. Just not my part of the world because I'm in Florida and we don't really know what fall is because it's hot here. Is it fall like over there in Colorado?
It's getting cooler. I was in the mountains over the weekend, so yeah, I was getting around 40 degrees at night, which is so
Ooh.
nice. Oh my gosh, it
But
was nice.
no Bruce
But
sightings.
no, didn't see any moose this time. So buzzed up to the mountains to go downhill riding, so downhill mountain biking. Buzzed up on Thursday afternoon. Then we came back on Sunday. So stayed a few nights. That was fun. Came pretty close. I almost clipped a tree. I almost hit a dude on a trail. That was I was like buzzing around this
Oops.
this berm and I don't think he'd ridden for very long and there's just certain parts of a trail. It wasn't like a very like advanced trail. It was like maybe a blue trail. There's just certain parts where like you don't just like he was stopped. He was on the side. So like if you're just listening right now, just pull over and go to YouTube. Like the trail's here and like on the right hand side there's like kind of a part where you can jump off
Yeah.
if you really want to, but he just did in kind of a bad spot. And I was going pretty fast. I wasn't like ripping through there, but I was going, it was towards the end of the trail and I was kind of slowing down. So he did that thing where like, like he's facing forward. So he doesn't see me coming behind him. So I can see him before he sees me. I'm coming and I can see him kind of stepping down, but he's kind of up top. So his left leg, and I was like, whoa, I'm coming. I go, heads up, heads up. And I'm like yelling at him, and I could see him go, ah, ah, like that. I had to like kind of like go around him a little bit. I was like, no, dude, you're all right, you're all right. There's nobody behind me. I just kind of buzzed off. And I thought, oh man,
That could have been bad.
he could have, yeah, he was close to like kind of stumbling onto the trail, and I don't know if I could have jumped over him, but yeah, that could have been pretty bad. Yeah, I got
Yeah.
caught in the rain on one point. Got yelled at for being out there riding in those kinds of trails on heavy rain because you're on a mountain and you're just getting crushed with rain. So my goggles were completely muddy. I had to do like the squeegee every couple feet. Like, I knew those trails like pretty well now. So, but the problem is when you're going fast and it's raining that heavy, it mucks up and it hurts the trails,
Hmm.
especially on the jumps, like the takeoff.
Mm.
They can kind of like catch your tire and fling you to one
Oof.
side.
Yeah.
So like when it dries out. So yeah, I just buzzed it. I came back. I look like my girlfriend goes, I walk in, she goes, what the hell happened to you? I got caught in the rain. I got caught. She goes, if you were a dog, I'd pick you up by your scruff and throw you in the bathtub. I'm just like covered in mud. I had to
That's where
like
you
clean
just
my
kind of take all your clothes off at the door before you even like
yeah,
venture into the rest of the house.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I did. Yeah, and then I sent you the picture of the brewery. I think we inside
Yeah.
the brewery? I don't remember. Or did I send you a picture of
No, you took me a picture from where you were staying and showed me where the brewery was in relation to that.
Oh yeah.
So the
So
brewery
it's
was like
like
across the car park. Yeah.
yeah, it's like a block away, like like
Mm.
not even 2 blocks away. So
Because
I
I
mean,
said, oh, you could stumble back from there
yeah,
because it was like
I mean,
crazy. Yeah.
I don't really drink that much, but it is fun to buzz around the bike park, come back,
Yeah.
clean up, and just
Yeah.
go have a beer or two, just kind of relax. So that's cool. I love that spot. It's like Winter Park is here, and then you drive like not even 10 minutes and you come to Fraser, and there's just like these new builds, and then just right there is a brewery. And so
How many weeks left do you have with the trails open? Because they close
I've
it, don't
got,
they, when it gets cold?
yeah, at the end of this month. So
Oh,
there's one more gap I haven't done, a pretty big one. I've had my eye on it for 2 years. I didn't do it when I first saw it because I crashed. And then I did two this past weekend off my list. I did them last year. I've just been avoiding them this year. So this one left. It's on a pretty, the trail name is Cruel and Unusual. It's a double black diamond, so
oh.
it's pretty big, yeah. But my buddy who's a lunatic and he's a pro and he's just like, dude, just let the bike do the work, let the bike do the work. I'm like, okay, dude, it's like a 15-foot drop. So, and you have to go like really fast. So I have the speed to clear it. So that will come. I have 3.5 weeks to do that.
You're not
So
too old for that, though.
no, I don't know what
I
you
mean,
mean.
you don't bounce back like you did 10 years ago. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'm not,
Yeah. And the bad crash a couple of years ago.
that's what
I
I'm
mean,
saying.
that's
Your
always
hand is still not, you know,
my
great.
hand's still broken. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you
but
not think maybe, you should not do that 15-foot drop, maybe?
no, I don't think
Oh.
like that. Anyway, so that yeah, I've got a couple weeks to do that, and yeah, at the end of the month, and they've shortened the park hours from 10 to 6:30. They shortened it to 10 to 5.
I mean, it's still a full day, though, really.
Yeah, I mean,
So
in
it's not
four
bad.
hours, I mean, my
Yeah.
hands get smoked just from death gripping the handlebars for
Yeah.
hours, and then you get the arm pump and all that. So I'm just complaining.
Mm.
But yeah, that was weekend. Came back. Yeah, I was building. I actually had to rebuild our app, Campaign Pilot. I kind of told MP that. Oh yeah, have we mentioned yet our guest?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
did.
Yeah, just kind of been blabbing. So I had to rebuild that. Luckily, their customer support was on point. It's like, yep, all right, you get your tokens back. Awesome to work with. So yeah, rebuilt that. Yeah, just had this great interview. So yeah, it's been the last couple of days. What have you done? You said boat, right? Before we hit
Yeah,
record.
so last week when we recorded like this thing, you were like, "Oh, what are you doing for the weekend?" And I hadn't realized or remembered that Monday was in fact it was Labor Day weekend. I hadn't really realized that. I think because everything has been kind of mixed up with my last minute travel and so I forgot there was a 3-day weekend. Actually turned into a 4-day weekend. So one of our kids works with my husband and they just happened to the way their scheduling was running not be working on Friday, which is like very unusual.
Mm.
And if that happens and it's a good day, then he'll jump on the boat because he wants to be on the boat at every given opportunity. So Friday, the three of us, so me, my husband, and one of our kids, we went out on the boat. And it was really nice weather. We saw dolphins and they got some scallops and stuff. But it was really nice weather. It was a really nice day. And the three of us together don't get to spend very much time, just like the three of us. So it was really nice to just kind of hang out and have a chill day with him. And then on Saturday, we took the other kid and some friends of ours and their young son on the boat. So we had another boat day, so another bunch of dolphins. It was a little rockier, I'm not going to lie. At one point, I was like, So we came a bit more inland and then we anchored up and I could get out. Once you're in the water, you don't feel it so much. So that was nice. And then Sunday, my girlfriend who moved up close to me last year, she's also the one that I went to Savannah with at the beginning of the year. We just wanted to catch up. So she has yet to discover the huge 2-story Barnes and Noble that we have in our area. So I took her out there for a few hours and spent some time with her. And then yesterday we had family time. So we're visiting with family for a while. So it was
Mm.
actually quite like a full weekend, but not like it was full, but not like hectically crazy busy full. It was just like we chilled out. Like we went grocery shopping, went down to Trader Joe's and remulched the front lawn and, well, part of the front lawn. So it was just kind of like we did a lot, but in a very kind of chilled out type manner. Also, have you heard of Halloween Horror Nights? Do you know what
No,
that
what is
is?
that? Mm-mm.
Okay, so at Universal Studios for Halloween, they do this Halloween Horror Nights, and they have like all these haunted houses that are based on like movies or they could be video games or something. And my husband took our son a few years ago because our daughter was not about that life and they had a great time. But this year she really wanted to go, which I think there's a specific haunted house that she wants to go to, but it's expensive. And on top of that, the only way to do it is to get fast passes. Because if you don't get the fast pass, you are standing in lines for like 2, 3 hours at a time and you don't get
Yeah.
to see everything. So I said to her, well, because her birthday is in September and it's already open. Halloween Horror Nights is already open. I said, well, how about instead of buying you things, if you wanted to, as your birthday gift, we could take you, not me, my husband could take you to Halloween Horror Nights because it also would involve a hotel room. So it's not just the tickets and the fast passes, it's also a hotel room because it's in Orlando and that's a try for us. And it's a late night, obviously. And then food and drink and everything else. So I'm like, you don't have to give me a decision now. Just think about it. Within an hour, I want to go.
Okay.
And we had been talking to our son about it the day before, not about taking her, because that idea didn't strike me until the next day, but he was talking about it and he was realizing how expensive it was. And he's in the era of like figuring out how expensive things are and also like relating that to when we've taken him to places and how much that must have cost us at the time. He's kind of in that era. Not that we're pushing that on him at all. He's just thinking that. So he gradually realized, oh, so when you took me like however many years ago, it cost, and my husband's like, yeah, like he's figuring it out. But I knew he wanted to go, but between tickets, hotels, driving, and everything, it would have cost him a fortune. So I had said to my husband, I said, you could offer for him to go with you. Like, let him buy his own ticket because hers is obviously her birthday present, right? Let him buy his own ticket, but like you've got a hotel room anyway. You're driving up there anyway, so it will save him the hotel room, the gas, and you can pay for his food and drink as well. Like, don't let him eat the whole thing. So now all three of them are going up to Halloween Horror Nights at the end of
Oh.
September. So apparently it's great if you're into that kind of thing. It's not my vibe. I don't want to be scared and jumpy and people touch me.
I've done something like that a couple years ago. I know that there's a funny clip online. I'll send it to you after we stop recording, but it's of Kevin Hart and Jimmy Fallon, and they go through like
Oh,
a
I've
maze or something.
seen it.
It's
Yes.
pretty funny. Kevin Hart's like, I just farted. I'm so scared. But no,
Yes.
I've done something
No.
like that. I don't think I'd do it again. No, that's terrifying. I don't want to get chased by a chainsaw.
No. And like I said, our son and my husband love that kind of thing. And she's only now, she'll be 16. She's only now okay with it. Like we did Busch Gardens a few years ago and like she would do like the really mild things, but she was not about that life. But now she's reading like Silence of the Lambs and she's watching the movies like Hannibal and stuff. And she's really getting into that kind of thing now. So I'm excited for them. But this morning I was taking her to school and she's like, well, you should come. I was like, absolutely not. I don't want to spend hundreds of dollars for me to stand there like a lemon and not being enjoying myself and bringing everybody else down. I'm good. Like you guys go do your thing with your dad and have a great time.
Yeah,
Like I don't need to be involved in everything.
leave me
But
out.
yeah, but it's like apparently people are already TikToking it and showing some of the places, and she's already got a list of all the food that she wants to eat. Like you do
Ah,
you, like
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, that's not about me.
So yeah, that was my weekend, and then we have another weekend coming up, which I can't believe it's already
So
September. That's
yeah,
bananas
how
to
about
me.
that now?
I feel like such an old lady. This year's going by so quickly, but it really, really, truly is.
We've had some cool things happen, and as we transition to podcast and AI, and we've got some cool things coming. So
We sure do. We have another great podcast episode coming up here soon too.
yeah, we've got cool things are planned, I will say, even rolling into next year after talking to Lovable.
Yeah, and also in our conversation we just had with MP from Lovable, I did get bullied into telling MP my idea for an app. So don't go stealing my idea, please.
Yeah, or just build it. I
No,
mean,
I'm no,
it's a crazy idea. I know. It's
maybe.
weird.
I don't know. Anyway, we're going to wrap up episode 13. Next time you see my face, we will be having another great guest on for an interview. I'm not going to tell you who it is because you're going to have to tune in. So that will be next week. You'll see Charlie, myself, and our special guest for another great interview. But in the meantime, you can find the AI Code Central podcast on YouTube. You can listen if you want to, if you don't want to see our beautiful faces on Apple Podcasts and also Spotify. So please leave us a like, a comment, subscribe. If you have any questions or you have any ideas for any guests that you would like to come on, or maybe you want to come on, maybe you've got something that we could talk to you about. Who knows? Please feel free. We welcome any and all suggestions. Just be nice and kind. And we'll be back next week with another episode.
Peace.
Well, hello. Welcome back to episode 13 of the AI Code Central podcast. As you know, I am Kaz, and as always, with me is my friend of 11 years. I can't believe we've been friends that long, Charlie.
Yeah.
And if I know I am the bane of your existence, if you are new here, Charlie is the one who's got more AI experience, and I don't have a whole lot. So we're basically trying to learn together. You will see we have once again another special guest on the podcast. Very, very excited today. We're going to be talking to MP from Lovable. Currently, he's part of the growth and marketing team, but he did start out life as a super user. So he's very experienced even before he joined the Lovable team. So I did some research because I do. Charlie calls me a creeper. I just like to know who I'm talking to. And you have had quite the journey to get to where you are. And there's one very specific thing that I wanted to talk to you about. I will let you introduce yourself in a minute, but there's this one little clip that I heard you talking about on another podcast.
Okay.
And I thought it was fascinating because it kind of was the catalyst. So you were telling a story about how you had worked in a bar on a tiny little touristy island in North Africa, I'm pretty sure you said. And it was a beer at about 11 o'clock in the morning that opened your eyes, changed your perspective, and started you on a long journey that eventually led you to Lovable. And I think the thing that I took from it was a really great story about how it's really easy to settle for what's in front of you. And it's really easy, even if you could see that future mapped out, if it's not the one that you want, like it's not comfortable for change. But in one moment, for one beer that wasn't even your beer, that
Mm.
changed things. And I know you've told this story before, but would you please, with your introduction of yourself, please tell the story? Because I just think it's a really powerful story.
Sure. Oh, that was cool. That what you pulled out. I did not expect that one. So yeah. Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm Mindaugas or MP. As you mentioned, I work at Lovable on kind of the growth between growth and marketing teams, doing a bunch of different things, and we can get into that. But yeah, the story that you're referring to was yes, I used to work in bars, restaurants in the Canary Islands many years ago at this point. And it's a tourist heavy industry. So really what you can do is mostly bar work or restaurant work. And one morning I came in to work in the restaurant. I opened up and my manager came in and I think he was, I don't know, maybe in his 60s. And the first thing he did, which was like early in the morning, was like pour himself a glass. And I don't know why, it just kind of hit me in that moment, like everything just froze, where I was like, wait, if I don't do anything, if I just keep like pouring away, which is, as you said, very easy to do, that's going to be me in 20, 30 years. And I don't want that. And so that just like set this spark off that like, hey, like you don't want that, so you should probably do something about it. And subconsciously, and it wasn't easy, but like I just kind of kept following this. And there was moments where it was like one step forward, 15 back, but still it was this kind of guiding, I guess, view that that is not what I want for my
Yeah.
life. And yeah, just kind of followed that basically for the last, whatever, 20 years.
Yeah, and it wasn't, and from the forged version of the story you tell, it wasn't like, oh, I'm packing my bags and I'm heading back to Dublin and then here's my fantastic job. I know there was a lot of hard work in between it. There was more bar work. I know you mentioned working, I think it was a hotel that Bono owned at one point. It
Yeah.
wasn't just a straight trajectory to kind of like where you are now. But I just thought it was really, sometimes it's the most like innocuous things that's enough to be a catalyst that really like wake you up and set you on another journey. And now here you are, you're working for Lovable, having been a super user of their platform. And now you work with like influencer collaborations and on smaller influencers, bigger influencers. So what's that like? What does it entail for you? Kind of, I'm sure no 2 days are the same, but is there something specifically or a personality maybe that you're specifically looking for within that community of influencers?
Look, I love building relationships with people. And I think, Lovable has become very visible as a brand and continues to be visible. Like every day I get surprised by who knows about us. And I just don't, not talking about like, you know, famous people or whatever, even though I get to interact with these folks. And that's really cool. But I mean, we just did an event in London, or we were shooting some content with some creators. We'd hired out this cafe that a friend of mine owns in Shoreditch, and we were shooting content, but we kept the cafe open so people could come in and get their coffee. But we paid for the coffee, so the staff were just telling everybody when they wanted to pay, like, "Hey, no, the coffee's unlovable today." And I was sitting down. I was there in the morning, and I was sitting down in the corner just watching everything happen. And it was amazing to hear some of the stuff that was happening when people were getting the coffee and being told it was unlovable. One guy just turned around. He was like, "Oh my God, Lovable is an amazing company. I built 3 products with it." Like some random person that just walked off the street, right?
Yeah.
Then somebody else kind of had a similar reaction. And so it's always like fascinating to hear like who knows about us. And I think that's going to continue accelerating at a crazy pace. So what I look for is who is actually excited about the product itself, because we
Yeah.
can very easily be viewed right now. You know, we raised a lot of money. That's very public, right? We raised one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Series A's, which is, you know, 200 million. It's a lot of money. So
Yeah.
what that comes with is, yes, more exposure, more, you know, brand, like building on the brand and product love that we have, but also vultures. People want the money that you have, right? And so it's very easy though to spot very transactional stuff. And so what I look for is like the money's there. I'm not saying I'm trying to undercharge people or underpay people, but like, are you coming to me with something very specific? Like, you know, I get my favorite outreach or conversations are like, I have this very specific idea and I want to build it. Or I get on a call with a massive creator a couple of weeks ago. He's got tens of millions of followers, huge audience. And the first thing he says to me is like, "Oh, I've been building stuff with Lovable." And I did not expect that, right? We reached out to him for a collaboration. That's the first thing he said. Then he said, "I actually want to build a couple of products with Lovable. Could you help me? Because I don't really know it that well." Right. So to me, that's a conversation that's starting from the right kind of angle. The money's still there, right?
Yeah.
You're going to get paid, but I want to start conversations from that kind of moment. And then we can both be excited about what we're going to create, because guess what? That is going to translate to the audience. And that is
100%.
ultimately what I care about and what we care about as a brand, right? So could I go and spend a ton of money and just pay people for ads where they're just going to promote because they have a big name? Sure. But could I also instead help people who are genuinely excited to like use the product to create something, to then put it into their audience's hands and tell that story? That's a lot more powerful, right? That's not just brand exposure and views. That's also customer education, which ultimately translates to retention or higher chance of retention.
Yeah. I think also you're in a position where obviously Lovable is a very well-known name now. Like you said, people that you wouldn't even begin to imagine know your product know it, from grandmas and grandpas down the street to like very well-known, you know, artists or musicians, whatever. But also, so you're in a position where you get to pick and choose the people you work with. But when, like you said, that the guy you were just talking to came to you and said, "Oh, I've been building for a while," that gives you authenticity. And social media users these days are savvy enough to know when someone really cares and really likes and really uses a product, whether it's a face wash, a toothpaste, Lovable, you can tell. So when you have these conversations with collaborators and influencers, and they come to you and say, "Oh, I built this, but I'm having a hard time building this," you're halfway there because you've already got somebody who loves the product, that knows the product, that like uses that product. I know we talked a little bit offline, but when I was doing my research, I had been reading about will.i.am. And I'm going to tell you this honestly, I kind of had forgotten about will.i.am a little bit. Not for any reason, I just don't really watch TV much. And I know obviously he's big in music and was on TV a lot, but do you know how that collab came about? Was that something that you were initially like part of doing that with him? And I guess my question is, do you find that people like will.i.am, who are very like well known, have just as much of an impact on what you're trying to do in the influencer world as maybe somebody who's a little less unknown but is really well aligned with Lovable and is able to build using Lovable?
Yeah, I think they all have an impact. And that's, you know, as we talked about kind of before this, when I initially joined, I really wanted to help us build some type of a system internally so we're able to work with as many of like the smaller or the up and coming creators. They're
Yeah,
often, nearly as important, if not more, than some of the more established ones. Because also for some, I think audiences get tired of maybe the same shtick. And there's some, sorry in advance if you're listening, but it's true. Some are just doing like the same thing now. They're truly just cashing in, right? They'll take
100%.
every collaboration. And so what I wanted to do was like, how can we enable ourselves? Because we're a tiny team. Like people forget, right? For the amount of stuff that we're doing and the revenue that we're doing, the math just makes no sense in most cases. Like comparing to other companies, like let's say even a couple of years ago, the math does not make sense. And so how could we enable ourselves to be able to work with these folks instead of saying, well, we don't have the capacity, right?
Mm.
Because that could mean working with hundreds of the smaller creators. So what, like, do I hire a whole team just to do that? Then the math doesn't make sense on that side, right? And then if
Yeah.
you have a whole team, then things, get missed and like it's not efficient. And so I wanted to kind of find us a way how we can do that. And then also we can give the focus and do much larger, more intricate collaborations with folks like Will.i.am because they do have a lot of influence and you're able to reach different audiences and much larger audiences too that you maybe otherwise wouldn't be able to reach. So how that came about, we haven't told the full story yet, but we're gonna do that at some point because it's actually a crazy kind of story how that whole thing came about. But
Mm.
let's just say that one day I found myself in a WhatsApp chat with Will.i.am because
Just randomly.
yes, I was introduced by a mutual friend because
Mm.
Will.i.am had reached out to us and nobody had responded. And we then made it happen so that he became an investor and also just kind of said, hey, I want to do a bunch of stuff with you guys. Just like, let's create a bunch of good stuff. And so what that transpired to is the first thing, he has an amazing building in LA that he uses for like community building. It has recording studios, event spaces, and he has kindly given us that building once a month as like a creative residency to come and essentially do some type of community collaborative event. So the first one, what we're doing on the 25th of September, we're going to bring together 20 to 30 emerging artists in LA, pair them with 20 to 30 people who are really good at building with Lovable. And essentially the idea will be for the day to build and help these emerging artists kind of pop. So like what is missing in their tool stack that we could help build for them that
Okay.
day? Yes.
Yeah.
And then you'll have Will.i.am and friends floating around that day being like mentors, judges, and we'll do a fireside chat, share some battle stories from the industry. And so I think that's going to be really, really cool.
And I will say this, I think if people say like me, see someone that they connect with on a level like Will.i.am becoming part of Lovable or building with Lovable or creating with Lovable, it will make people think, oh, well, if that person can do it, I can do it. And not that I think somebody like an influencer or Will.i.am is like stupid. I don't mean that. I just mean, well, they came from like this world, right? But they can build with Lovable and they've gotten deep into AI and they've kind of figured out how to do it. So if that wasn't their background, if they weren't a technical person to begin with, obviously he's a creative type, right? We know that he's been very successful. But if you can mix your creativity and that skill set you have with a technical skill set, which traditionally wouldn't go hand in hand, you can then see yourself doing that. So just being able to identify with somebody on a level, I think will just bring more people to Lovable.
Yes. And that's the idea, right? Like, again, the perception, and this is going to be the fun thing to watch unfold over the coming months. The perception, in some cases, I think will be, oh, they just raised a bunch of money. They're paying all these famous people, right, to do an ad. But like,
Yeah.
we're actually going to be doing the opposite. And it's
Right.
actually it's actually the opposite of paying these people, which is kind of crazy.
I think it's
What
fascinating.
the idea here is exactly what you just described. If the 99% of the world or if we're building for the 99% of the world who have ideas, which most of us do, but we cannot build, then showing people like Will and others that I cannot even mention yet, doing that, not reading a scripted ad that we pay them $1 million for, is going to be incredibly powerful. But like, again, what we talked about, like some of the smaller creators, right? So we're going to do that from the top and from the bottom and the middle and across different verticals and niches and subcultures, because then those folks will be truly kind of inspired and empowered and shown like what's actually possible versus, here's read an ad, click this link, sign up. I think the truest way to do this is show others being successful with your product and then telling those stories.
MP,
100%.
has the team gone, kind of sidebar question here, going back a little bit, has the team gone back and found Will.i.am's message to Lovable? The one that was...
Yes.
Oh, they have. Okay.
That's hilarious.
He sent it to me. That's the thing.
Oh, did
He?
I didn't just bury it, did I? Okay.
No. He sent it to me. That's how the conversation started, and that was a fun one but like again, Will is super cool. There's no ego. It was a daunting moment for me at the beginning, but then it quickly turned into a very cool conversation that just
cool.
continued. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, he's active in tech investing, right? I think I've seen him maybe at South by, and like him and like Chris Sacca, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Will is huge. He's also like, that's why he's like such a cool partner for something like this, because he straddles both worlds, right? He's a super producer, and then he's an artist, a huge artist in his own right, that still releases music that, he released a song like a month ago and then they were crazy viral, tens of millions of views. And also he's been building his own products, which actually one of them we're using to collaborate on this thing that we're doing together. It's called FYI. You should look it up. It's really cool. So he's got a whole product team. People should look up the collaboration he did with Mercedes-Benz. Like that is actually an insane thing that they did. So yeah, Will is very much an active investor, but also building his own projects a lot.
Gotcha. And rolling into Q4, pardon me, Kaz, rolling into Q4, what's most important for Lovable as we rolling into holiday season, perhaps even CES for Lovable next year?
That could be interesting. I don't know if those, it might be on the list. I'm not sure. We have a lot of interesting events lined up. Again, I can't even talk about it yet, but we're going to show up. I think it's going to really surprise people at some of the things that we show up at and how we show up there. And that's the goal. You're not going to see like, we just put our logo on this, famous cultural moment. Like that's not what's going to happen. So for Q4 is continuing to improve the product is like the most important. And then I think understanding too, like, we're still so young, right? We're like technically like a year old when you think about it. That's pretty wild. So there's still a lot of unknowns. There's still, now there's like very specific data that maybe is going to inform like what we should focus on, what we should do next year. So there's a lot of that work.
Yeah.
At least that I'm also doing for my own team and what I'm building. But yeah, keep improving the product and like listening to the customers is like the most important thing.
Gotcha. And another sidebar here. I think I've built quite a bit, at least 12 apps. I finished maybe 5. In the past 3 days, I've been down a rabbit hole. And shout out to Daniel on the support team. He refunded some tokens back because I burned like 2 straight days, like maybe close to 3 straight. And when I say days, I mean like 12 hours straight of like going ham on a project. I was like, hey man, like I was talking to the agentic help, and then I did like talk to a person through the support, and then he got back to me. He's like, yeah, here, man. He first like didn't even tell me. He's like, here's 100 token. I was like, oh wow. And then he came back and was like, yeah, you need more. He burned like quite a lot going through, and it was this authentication help. So I think that like that was pretty cool. Like without even, he didn't really ask any questions. He's like, here's how to make it better. And then it's like, wow, okay. So I just started the whole thing over and now it works. I was just telling Kaz off the air. And by the way, Kaz, I'm totally going to bulldoze you here. Kaz told me a really cool app idea. Will you please share it?
Oh, okay. I'm going to share it. Let me preface this by saying, as somebody who's got zero in the way of AI skills, I don't want to build this. But here's my app idea. It kind of ties in with your influencer situation a little bit. And I think there was something that was similar to this, but it's not exactly the way I picture this. So you're scrolling on TikTok, you're scrolling on Instagram, you're scrolling on the web, you find a pair of trainers that you really like, right? Sneakers for our American friends, a pair of Nikes, right? That you really like. You're just not ready to buy them yet. You want to do some research. Maybe there's other colors. So you pick you're on your phone and that's the one you want. Me, what I do currently is I screenshot that particular item that I'm looking for, and then I can come back to it at a later date. But oftentimes I forget. And my phone's also filled with a ton of screenshots of a ton of different products that at some point I could be interested in buying. There needs to be an app where it doesn't matter if you're on a specific brand's website or whether you found it on an Instagram ad or an influencer on TikTok or YouTube or wherever, where you can just select it and it saves the item to this app from every form of website, TikTok, the actual brand's website, saves it along with purchasing options. So say, for example, it's a pair of shoes. Well, you might be able to get that pair of shoes from the brand's website. You might be able to get it from a department store. You might be able to get it from the shoe store, but there'll be different price points. So when you go back and scroll through your app and you see, and you can categorize it, shoes, jewelry, perfume, whatever it is, cars, bikes, that you can go, oh, I liked this back on this date. And here's all the places I can buy it, and this is the cheapest price. So every product you're interested in looking at or buying or whatever at some point is stored in this one app. Rather than, I was looking for a picture the other day, and I scroll through, and I'm like, oh, I forgot I was interested in those shoes 2 months ago, but now it's 2 months later. I totally forgot about them, and they're probably not available in the size or color that I want. But there's like LTK, which like takes you to the specific website to buy the product from the person who's influencing you to buy it. There's Pinterest, which gives you ideas, but there's nothing specific that brings all of the items you want or you like into one space.
To build it.
No.
That's what I said.
No.
You should totally build it.
Like, what's stopping you?
Someone's
right?
going to steal it now. They're going to listen to it.
But
I think steal it, Evan.
Yeah, but I think this is a good way to learn too, right? So
Yeah.
if we want to talk about that aspect, I get a lot of people reach out and they're like, oh, I want to, learn AI, whatever. Or you work at Lovable, I want to learn Lovable. Most people start overthinking the best way to learn. They start asking me questions around like scalability and all of this crap. And I'm like, you haven't built anything yet. You don't even know if anybody wants this thing, right? Just go play. So, but the reason I say that is when you have a very clear, specific idea, like what you just described, that is when you are going to learn the most because you have an idea in your head, right? That is pretty clear.
Yeah.
When you start playing around with Lovable, just like, I think forget what you're assuming by me and Charlie saying like you should build it is like, oh, needs to become a business or an app that other people use.
Yeah.
You could just try and build it for yourself. But in the process, you're going to learn how these systems work and think. And because it is just using natural language going back and forth, it's easy to just start, right? But it's going to show you how does it think? Where does it break? But because you have such a clear idea of something, it's going to be visualized for you enough from just the first prompt that it's going to get you excited to iterate and then build a little bit more and play a bit more with it, right? That is the best way to learn because what I think a lot of people do is they're like, oh, I don't know, make me a SaaS dashboard or something, right? Like, they don't care, but they just don't know what to build. They don't care about a SaaS dashboard, but that's not very exciting necessarily. So having like a super clear idea and not putting the pressure on yourself that this needs to be a thing that I'm going to launch to people is honestly the best way to do it. And that's how you're going to learn the most and the quickest.
I also think, like, for me, I have a tendency to overthink, right? So in my mind, and also I'm like older and I'm not very techy. So I think in my mind, if I'd have come up with this idea, say 5 years ago, the effort and the amount of time and skills that would require to go from my idea to it being actually a thing is massive. The amount of money it would take, the developers it would take. So it seems like it would be such an overwhelming thing to do. Like, well, I can't do that. Like, what are you talking about? Like, barely type on a keyboard. But now with Lovable, you just make it so easy. But it's
Mm.
hard for someone like me to get out of the mindset of, well, I need 6 developers and I need, $200,000 and I need about 12 months. And it's so hard to get out of that mindset and really accept, like, Lovable is not a case of it's too good to be true. It genuinely is that easy. Obviously, that doesn't mean it's going to be hiccup free, but it
Of
genuinely
course.
is that easy to conceptualize an idea and build it. And I think I'm still in there, oh, this is going to be too hard sort of phase,
No, you should just
Yeah.
honestly, you should just try like
Just
construct like
try it.
yeah, what I tend to do is like how you were describing the idea, right? I usually just open up like a voice note something and I just brain dump. So I talk about like how you described it. I talk about what do I know about the potential users of this? What do I know about the problem space? Like just speak essentially. And then I take that raw transcript and I turn that into the first prompt for Lovable. So it builds me the first
Ah.
version. Yes, because
Ah.
that's how then you're going to get that first initial, like, whoa, actually, this was what was in my head, right? Because that's what you want. But honestly, like, if I could give you some kind of more motivation, we just recently did kind of a hackathon alongside Outside Lands, which is, I think, the largest independent music festival in the US, right? Headlined by
Mhm.
Tyler the Creator, Doja Cat, all of these amazing people. And what we did there was 2 weeks before the festival, we ran the hackathon. It was an afternoon. It was like 4 or 5 hours. Historically, the artists, the producers, the DJs, the talent managers who lived the problems day in and day out were excluded from something like this because you needed to know how to code. In this
Okay.
scenario, we removed that from the
Yeah.
equation, and now those people could come and be the people building. And so people were building on two streams. They were either building something for the music industry or something for the festival itself. And what was crazy cool, we then had will.i.am as one of the judges, MC Hammer, other amazing people. We then did a demo day a week later. We selected like top 10 projects from it. The festival has an app. We then put the projects into the official festival app so the festival attendees could use and try and vote as well. And then we did the final awards. But the coolest thing that happened off the back of that, I met with the team behind this festival 2 weeks ago. I'm actually talking to them again tonight about next year's and a few other projects that we might want to work on. The coolest thing that happened, that without being prompted, it wasn't part of our collaboration deal or anything. They said 2 of the projects were so good, we want to integrate them into next year's festival experience.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Now just think
Nice.
about that. People that showed up to the hackathon, I don't think they were there to try and build a company. Maybe, they were thinking about that. They were just
Yeah.
solving a problem that they knew about, whether it was for the festival experience or for the music industry. And all of a sudden, their products are going to be integrated into next year's festival official experience, right? That's going to be used by thousands, tens of thousands of people. And actually both of them can be sold to other major events as
Cool.
well. So they could turn it
That's
into a
crazy.
business if
That's
they
pretty
wanted
wild.
to, right?
We should
Yeah.
we should cover that next year, Kaz.
That's crazy.
That
Yeah.
event.
Imagine that though. You're just like, oh, I'm just going to try it, see what I can maybe build, maybe not. And then next thing you know, boom,
Bam,
Yep.
you're in. Oh, also
you're like,
on your idea, Kaz,
yeah.
Q4 is right around the corner. So just saying. Anyway, MP, next question. For Lovable, for non-engineers, what is I ran into this with this loop that I mentioned earlier. What are guardrails that non-engineers should keep in mind, and what security improvements have been made in like in the past, like, let's say 3 months?
There's a ton. Like security wise, there's a ton. I think you can run security reviews now. You just click a button, right? There's also small things, right? There was a lot of, I think, talk a few months ago where people were basically, and I get why, people were putting in like API keys into front end, right? So like even now, I mean,
Whoa.
you can try it. Try and put an API key into the chat, into the Lovable chat. Like you're gonna get a flag instantly
It'll
saying like
yeah,
no,
it'll like
right?
alert. Yeah.
So there's a lot that's been built, and we now have an amazing growing security team, which are super cool. So there's been a lot. And on guardrails,
Mhm.
tell me
So,
more.
so what remains the builder's responsibility then in regards to
Uh,
security? As
oh, to
like,
security?
yeah, on that front, like, I mean, don't put in like stupid information, like really highly
Yeah.
like sensitive information, but is there something maybe that like there could be like oversight with from the builder?
Yeah, where people don't run a security review, right? Where they ignore any kind of warning. So
Okay.
that is, I think, over time, we're going to find what is that like UX, right? That starts avoiding like more and more of this, that like at some point, 100% of published apps will have the correct security behind them. And there's no chance that somebody can ignore not running a security review, right? But I think we'll find what that user experience is like, because there's so many different moments that happen, like when you're building and when you're publishing something, that we need to observe, like how are people using security reviews now, right? Once we implemented an easier way to actually run a security review, you want to look at how many people are using it, those that are ignoring it, why are they ignoring it, right? And then like find, okay, how can we reduce that? And it's a process. It takes time, and I think eventually, I don't know, does the AI, like I always think about, I always tell this as an example. My mom is 65. She doesn't speak English. She has a very good idea that she should build, and she's been talking about it for years. What is the point that she can just do it? Like technically she can right now, right? But she's not going to understand anything about API keys or databases or
Yeah.
security. So, like, what is the point where maybe all she needs to do is bring her idea and work on that, work on the user experience, right? Because she knows that inside out. She knows how the customer should interact with the thing that
Yeah.
she's building, right? But then all of the rest that comes with publishing a product, an app, is just taken care of by the AI, and it's like it's just done.
Gotcha. What would you say,
Mhm.
like from maybe from customer feedback or from yourself, who's a builder, the differences between like Lovable, Bolt, and let's say like Claude Code?
So I think Claude Code, as much as I love Claude and Anthropic, like Claude Code itself is, I don't know whether it's the marketing of it or what, but I think it doesn't speak to non-technical people, right? Code is in the name. Because it's funny, we did a cool partnership with a company called Hangout FM earlier. They're like
Yeah, yeah,
Roblox
yeah,
for music. You know those
yeah.
guys? Yeah.
He's is it Joseph? Is,
Yeah.
is that okay? Yeah, so he's supposed to be on the podcast here pretty soon. But yeah, cool stuff.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So actually, he and
Cool.
I were just catching up before this call. But yeah, we
Okay.
just did a collaboration with them, and just earlier before this, we were looking through like the results, and it was interesting to hear his feedback where they were using words like vibe coding and hackathon initially,
Mm.
but then they quickly got some feedback from their audience that like vibe coding doesn't speak to me as a non-technical person, because the word code is in the
Uh
name, or
I get
hackathon is
that. Yeah.
traditionally associated with engineering, like with people are hacking with code, right?
Yeah.
And so that was super interesting to hear. So to me, like Claude Code, at least to me, it doesn't speak to non-engineers or non-technical people. Like my mom would be like, what the hell? Like, what is that? Like, this is not my world at all, right? So that's one. I think, I don't know if I want to name in general, like specific competitors or companies individually and what the differences are, but the consistent feedback I get, and this is what people ask me too, like, why did you use Lovable, right? Before I joined. Like, it's easy to advocate for it now because I work here. But
Yeah.
before I tried all of them, and what I found is there's a combination of things, right? There's the name, there's the branding. It gives you warmth, and then I think the design of it makes it feel a lot more accessible to people. That's what I keep hearing. That's what I experienced myself. right? I remember when I used like a couple of the other tools on like the behind the scenes of it, of like what it could do, right? Or what it could achieve, which is like go from idea to something. Technically, they were the same, but for some reason, I felt a lot more comfortable doing that with Lovable and continuing to do it than the other tools that I tried. And I keep hearing that from people. It just feels like it's made for me. But I think you cannot just say like, is it specific features? I think it's a combination of things that starts with, honestly, a lot of people call out the name, the logo, like the heart, all the way through to the branding, the colors, to the kind of the messaging, I think, and the type of collaborations that we do and partnerships that we do and the influencers that we work with, to then when they arrive into the product, it just feels like it was made for them. Somebody used that like a couple of times over the last few weeks. They just said it feels like it was made for me. And I don't know how else to translate that, but that's kind of like I think a core differentiator.
I definitely would agree that as a person who's new and not very familiar, I think the language of some of it is easier than, like you said, vibe coding and agents and all that kind of stuff. I think it's a little intimidating to those of us that aren't really techie, but I think over time that's something that can kind of be explored a bit more. All right, well, we have to wrap up, but as we wrap up, we always do a few rapid fire questions. And I forgot to tell you about this before. They're very easy. It's nothing like taxing, I promise you. We just do a few rapid fire questions, kind of get to know you a little bit better. So, first one is, what do you like to listen to when you build? Like music or TV or anything?
Yeah, music for sure. So either like I grew up on 90s hip hop, so that is what I tend to listen to, or house music or Fred again, which I listen to every day.
What is an everyday non-tech skill that you have that you think makes you better at your job?
Everyday non-tech skill? Ooh, I would say I'm very good at like, how do I put it? Learning or unlearning.
Interesting. Learning or unlearning? Yeah. Okay.
Learning
so you
and
can pivot.
unlearning. Yeah, I can pivot very, very quick. I can understand like concepts very, very quick. Just scan something, like could be something completely new. But then also unlearning, I think, especially now, is incredibly important. I talk to so many people that get stuck on, oh, but I've been perfecting this skill for the last 10 years, or I've been using this tool. And I'm like, ooh, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, you better stop.
Like,
yeah.
So it's not even, it's just like being able to just be comfortable with like, you know what, I'm just going to unlearn what I've been learning for the last 10 years. I'm just going to dive into this other thing.
All right, I'm going to ask you one more and then we'll wrap up. If you had a vending machine at your desk right now and you could stock anything in it, what's your top pick?
Oh no, this is tough. A vending machine that I could stock anything?
It could be food, it could be drink.
Okay, because obviously I work, so I cannot say that, but I'll say my favorite cocktail is mojito. So I would stock like the best in the world non-alcoholic mojitos.
Nice.
Can this vending machine like make them fresh for me every day? Is that allowed?
Yeah, we're creating our own vending machine at this point.
Okay,
so
cool.
Ooh, that's nice. Mine would be room temperature Coke Zero because I'm boring. That would just be. I don't like cold drinks. It's the English in me, I think. I don't know. All right. I think we're good. I think we're done. I don't think we've covered anywhere near as much as we possibly could have covered with you, but we are limited on time. So I would like to say thank you so much for taking the time out. I would formally like to apologize on behalf of my dog for any weird noises you heard throughout that because she was chewing on a remote control. But hopefully we'll have you back again. I definitely would like to, if we're able to, come out and maybe cover one of the hackathons that Lovable does at some point. I think it'd be really great. Would really like to do that. But again, thank you for your time and hopefully we will get to talk to you again soon.
Of course. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Peace.